Hi, my name is nigelargriffiths. This is part 5 of our HMC Enhanced Plus Graphical User Interface live demo. In this one we'll be looking at the virtual machines that the HMC supports. Of course they're also called VMs. If you're running AX and IBM I, then you'll also know them as logical partitions or LPARs. The HMC itself calls them partitions. Let's move to the partition view then, up in here, all partitions, 28 of them. They disappear off the screen immediately, so we can't see them all. This is perhaps where I find you could go to this view, but if you're looking for a particular virtual machine, again you might be scanning down loads and loads of them, trying to find the one you want out of the 200 you got. So I prefer to stay in the gallery view, and I want one. I know it's got blue in the name, so there it is. I don't have to go looking for it. Let the computer find my partition for me. Okay, we got some of the same things. We've got gallery view and the list view in here. There's no relational view because they don't have sort of server and partitions. We don't have partitions and something else below, so we just have the two up in here. Everything else works the same. In here again, we can select this and take actions. This one is running. It's one of my favorite ones. So up in here we can do restart and shutdown operations. If we select that, then we're getting back to the same old panel that we've seen before. Typically you want to cleanly take it down by giving the operating system a warning and taking it down. That won't do that. This is running a website at the moment. Alternatively, we can look at in here the information, and we'll find we get some IP addresses. It's running AX or Linux. Well, the version is actually saying it's AX, not Linux for a start. And RMC is working. This is particularly nice. A lot of the times when you install Linux, you have to go and manually install the RMC sort of software, and if you forget, it's going to tell you that. That will mean that some operations are not possible from the HMC because the HMC is not talking to the OS, typically dynamically changing a logical partition or doing mobility LPM. Inside in here we got the basic descriptions. Again, we got the LED up in here for the attention, and we got a grab bar if we want to move it around. In here then we have the statistics for this particular logical partition. So this is the amount of CPU that this guy is actually taking. Out of the 4 CPUs it's taking 44% of it. In here we've got the memory. It's allocated 6 gigabytes of memory. And we don't know the percentage used. AIX tends to use it all anyway, doesn't it, after a time. Network and storage I/O going on in here, and the data collection is switched on. We've got a grab handle again to move that around and look at a couple of them. Or we can actually drill into the machine in here. In here we've got our standard often used properties, and turning the LED off, mobility in here. I usually use validate because that's nice. It's actually telling me over here that it's on a machine called Ruby. So let's actually do that operation. Let's do a validation and move this somewhere. Sorry, it keeps putting my windows out the way. Let's move that back to Emerald. Okay, and we can do validate. Takes a little while. This is standard operation, just making sure you're aware of it, and it's available in the Enhanced Plus. Once you've kicked it off, it's all exactly the same, and we'll let this run in the background once we're done. Okay, there's a warning. There's hardware acceleration on the current machine and not on the other one, but that will work okay. And it can't maintain the slot numbers. We don't care. Okay, so we'll close that. We get back to the panel here. We can say to migrate, and it's going to start off and do that, and we'll come and have a look at that later on. Remember that the task down in here, it will throw up a little thing saying that it's done and remind me down in here once it's complete. If we look at this, we've got 95 greens in here. That should come back and tell me that 96 is finished. Okay, In here we have all the actions. It's migrating now. Some of these actions are being switched off. Okay, so that's all we can do at the moment. It's locked it while it's doing that operation. So let's switch it off blue, and we'll pick up another one in here and enter it, and you can see all the information. This is now the general. We don't have got the partitions. The properties is the default one. We saw this general before, and so we've got the name of it in here. We could put a description in here if we wanted to, where it is and what it's doing and the applications it's running and that sort of thing, so we could search for that later on. We've got some features down in here like simplified remote restart that's available in Enhanced Plus. It's asking me, do I want to save that operation? Hopefully that's going to be okay. Just a little note, my migration has gone to 29% in here. It's just going to upgrade it, update it, 47%. Okay, come back to that later. Once it's done this simplified remote restart switching on, we can see in here, this is good, remote restartable. This is ready to go. There's my migration continuing. The in here we can ask it to double check that the data is okay, but they're actually ready to do the remote restart once it's if this machine, which is now Emerald, did you notice it's already moved to Emerald, that if this machine crashes or we take it down suddenly, then we can do simplified remote restart and restart those applications on the other server. So here's the 100% complete for the live partition mobility. And because I had this open in here, the 96 changed in here, and it's cleaned up. If I had that out of the way, it would have flashed up a little reminder down in here to tell me that it changed. My fault for that. Okay, so let's have a look at some other things in here. Processors. Okay, we've got a nice little thing going on in here where we can bring down the number of virtual processors in here, and we could bring up the processing units. This is what becomes the entitlement. If I do this wrong now, I'm going to have more entitled than CPUs have actually allocated. It said, well, I don't like that. That doesn't work at all for me. And sometimes if you move this one and then bring it down, it will actually go and reduce this for you. This is the only sensible number we could put in here. Sometimes it brings it down as sort of a ratio as well. So you can see it's looking out for you and telling you when things don't actually make sense. It's not actually done anything until I hit this save button up in here. So let's go back to 3 here and do a save operation. It was at 4, and so it's doing it. Now, do you notice that yellow in here? Now it might go red. Yeah, there it goes. This is the waiting one. It's clear to start with. It goes sort of amber and red. It says, I know I'm taking a while, but keep with me. I am actually busy doing this for you and letting you know that it's carrying on. I can also move this across in here to make the LPAR capped or not. Let's keep it uncapped. You'll notice that it remembers what it is currently, and so we don't have to save it again. We can change the weight number in here, maybe 200. I like this LPAR, and save that. Okay, you can see these things popping up, and here's the little reminder, just the little numbers in there as well. Okay, more general things in here. That's memory. Sorry, that was processors. Here's memory. Similar sort of deal. If you allocate more memory, it actually tells you that this operation may take time to complete. Well, that's not strictly true, because adding memory is pretty quick. If I say cancel that operation and take it back to, what was it set to, 4, if I took this down to 2, then it could actually take quite a long time. It'd have to page out a whole gigabytes of memory. And if you don't like this ending up with sort of funny numbers, you can actually just put it in here and hit a number and do it that way. Okay, also this is in gigabytes. If you want fine tuning, you can move this over to megabytes in here. Of course, you can't change the mode of the memory while it's actually running. I'm going to cancel out of that. I'm quite happy with whatever it had, 4 gigabytes at the moment. Actually, no, I think I prefer 6. This is a download server, and sometimes the images are quite big. A bit of memory can really help. Further down in here, let that clear off. Then we got the physical I/O, and there are none. This is pure virtual. Pretty obvious as we went to simplify the remote restart on it. Then we got the virtual networks. Should only have the one, 62 VLAN. Okay. Virtual NICs, none at all. We could add them in here and select on one and define what it needs to be in here. We won't do that. It takes too long. Virtual storage. Again, it's giving these little warnings. Yeah, I'm busy. I am working. Give me a second, and here we go. So this is the virtual SCSI devices. There's no physical devices from the VO server from here, the LUNs or logical units, logical volumes from the VAO servers. In here we have a shared storage pool, which is I'm using. Actually, I have 2. One's a boot, one's full of files, and a terabyte disk for all my files that I've downloaded. I can click on this and do particular operations, view device mapping, connectors, remove. Whoa, no, that would be disastrous. Increase in size, because this is a shared storage pool, I could just grow it. And I can actually migrate it between 2 pools on the fly as it's actually running. No logical volumes in here. If we go back to the top, remember the tabs disappeared. There's no virtual fiber channel set up at the moment, and we've got virtual optical devices in here. There isn't one. I could add one, although it would complain bitterly if I did that, because it has shared simplified remote restart set on this. I set that on earlier, and you're not allowed to have a physical adapter if you're in that mode, because the simplified remote restart won't work if you're physically attached to virtual DVDs in the VO server. But we know that. There's nothing new about the enhanced graphical user interface in here. SROV, we have some, but we haven't got that set up. So we've got some other features in here. We've got partition virtual storage diagrams. This is actually a new one. In here, it takes a little bit longer than some of the other requests. And here we have, this is my shared storage pool, so it's saying download boot and download files are there. There's no physical disks or in here, and this is showing you how the virtual SCSI to the shared storage pool is actually connected. The vhost numbers that we don't really need to know about anymore, and we need to just let go of those things. Sometimes you seem to get stuck, it won't let go. If you click it again, you can move around on here. Okay, that's it from all these ones down in here. We'll pop them away. And we missed out the partition actions, and oh look, this looks very similar to the servers, isn't it? We have the profiles in here, manage profiles. We don't tend to do that anymore. We just have the current profile. Whatever we changed it to is remembered, and we're going to run with the current profile these days. Templates, we're going to look at those later. Virtual consoles, I tend to do SSH to the HMC, and then use the VT menu to get to my console, because they work properly. With things like nmon, would draw lines rather than lots of letters around the side. And here's some of the oldest. Oh, I've got the restart and shutdown. We saw how to get to those directly. Here's validate, that we knew that was there already, and the suspend and recover operations down there as well. So most of that was available in the higher level menus that we saw earlier. Well, that's the virtual machines, LPARs, partitions, whatever you want to call them, done. Next up is the virtual I/O server.